next time, keep fit and have fun.
Come on, Rex. Let's go get you in.
Body break.
Filipiniana is brought to you in part by the following sponsors. Professional Cargo. Door-to-door na padala sa Pilipinas, pamasko o excess balikbayan baggages. Garantisadong aabot saan mang lugar sa Pilipinas sa loob ng 6 na linggo mula sa araw ng pag-alis. Nasa Unit 140, 11780 River Road sa Richmond. Telefono 278-9391. Our special guest today, Belia Cenicero, Program Coordinator, BC Parents in Crisis Society for Vancouver, Lower Mainland, and Southern Interior. Social worker by profession, Bella has been working on community development, program development, evaluation, and participatory action research and training, and women's issues. She co-organized the Filipino Women's Support Group, past Vice President of the Vancouver Society of Immigrant and Visible Minority Women, member of the Collective Battered Women's Support Services, and member of the Community Advisory to the Domestic Workers Association. Hi there.
Hello.
Welcome to Filipiniana.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So you represent the BC Parents in Crisis Society. Tell us about the society. When it got started, how you got involved.
Okay. BC Parents in Crisis Society is a non-profit organization. It's been around for almost 22 years. It's a provincial organization which is composed of 3 regional offices. We have one office in Vancouver and Lower Mainland, that's in downtown area. We have one office in Vancouver Island in Victoria. And we also have one office in Prince George that's covering the North region.
And you're the program coordinator for this area in
That's
Vancouver.
Right. Yeah. Vancouver and Lower Mainland and also South Interior of BC.
That's a wide area you're covering.
That's right. It's a wide area. So.
Yeah.
And it's very, but I like it. It's a beautiful place to cover, and I've got so much support from the community also.
Now tell me, what is the objective of this society?
Okay, our mandate is to work towards the prevention of child abuse, and we don't provide counseling, but we provide self-help groups. At present, we have 44 groups all over the province.
Self-help groups, what does that mean?
Self-help groups, which means it's a support group for parents. They come to the group because they want to get support from other parents, to learn from each other about other way of raising their children or disciplining their children without being hurtful to them when they raise
You mean without
children.
spanking?
Without spanking, or yeah, that can be done too, and getting support from other parents and also those who are dealing with stressful situations. If you're dealing with stressful situations, sometimes it could impact your relationship with your children.
There's something I need to clarify here. When you mention multicultural community, is that any different from mainstream community? Because you say that the society has been in existence for around 20 years, right?
Okay.
And you're just starting to introduce the program to the multicultural community.
Yeah, I guess because in our experience during the past 20 years, most of the parents that access our program, they are coming from they're born here, they've been born here, and also they know about the system, they know the language. But we know that there's still other parents who are not able to access the program because they don't have the language. They are not familiar with the culture here. So when they relate with other parents about their difficulties in raising their children, it's quite difficult for them. So we decided to, in consultation with our Multicultural Advisory Committee, we decided to set up a support group for parents specific to 3 communities, like the Latin American community, the Filipino, and the Indo-Canadian.
Why? Why those 3 communities specifically?
Good question. We actually invited people from different communities, but we were not able to get response from them because we have to provide them with the training for them to be able to run our program.
Okay, what is the first step that you've undertaken in meeting your objective, which is to eradicate child abuse? Okay, because in general, this is generally speaking, that Filipino families or Filipino parents have a how do I say that? It's a cultural thing. When they bring up their children, it's not usually spare the rod. You know?
Yeah, that's
So
right.
they believe in spanking.
Yeah.
I've seen it many times, and in the Philippines it's okay. But so how do you address that problem here in trying to get the Filipino community, the parents in there who have problems in responding to you?
Yeah, well, like what I have mentioned a while ago, that our mandate is to work towards the prevention of child abuse. We can't really minimize or eliminate child abuse, but working towards that goal. And by doing that, we need support from the entire community. And we are a complementary service for other existing services like the counseling services, parenting courses, those things. And parents, even if they're getting support from different programs like parenting courses or individual counseling, they still need that ongoing support because it's difficult for them to be able to access that right away when they're in crisis situations. That's why the support group is there for them to be able to access that. And they find it very powerful to get support from other parents who are really in that situation, experiencing that difficulty.
What kind of response have you does the society have so far from from these communities?
What
I
do you
mean,
mean?
do parents in crisis normally come forward and say, hey, they call you on the phone and say, we do have a problem and I think we need some assistance here. Not necessarily, because we do know that, if that is, I think it's the family court or it's some social agency that takes care of things when things get out of hand
right.
within the
Yeah,
family,
yeah.
right? But in your role as a support group, how can you get parents to talk about their problem without actually losing their self-respect or losing what they believe is a private matter?
That's a very good question because even with people who have been born here and know the language, it takes them, I think, a courage to take that first step in phoning and getting support from us. And we encourage self-referral. We don't encourage the counselor or the professional to call for the parent or for their clients.
In other words, you don't move until they come and they
That's
come
right.
to you.
Yeah. Because it becomes very productive for the parent to make that voluntary participation to come to the support group.
Why does it become productive?
Because they know that they need support. They know that they need help.
So there's no denial there.
That's right.
And they're more receptive to
They're more receptive to responses.
to suggestions and okay.
Yeah. Because once the person is being sent that you have to go this, when they come to the group, they will say, I was just sent here by my worker and here I am. I don't want to participate. But that's why we encourage self-referral. And it's being very, very productive and very, very powerful for the parents to make that first step. And I can understand that parents, it's difficult for the parents really to make that first step. And like what you have mentioned in our community, it's difficult for us to really share about private issues, personal issues. But once you are there, because our program is also highly confidential and anonymous, and whatever said is just being left in the room, and you cannot be identified that you're a member of the support group. It's up for you to say that I am a member, but nobody would say that. So they find that support, and they find that it's non-threatening for them to talk about their issues, that they're being supported and respected, and they're not being blamed for what happened, but being understood. That, yeah, sometimes it's okay to make mistakes. We are not perfect. And I guess that's what happens when societies are being, expecting the parent to be that perfect to their children, and sometimes it's difficult for the parents to sometimes admit that they have...
Their feet are made of clay.
That's right, yeah.
How, during the support meetings, who normally attends this? Do children attend it as well with their parents, or is it just the parents?
It's different. If it's a day group, we also have a day group, then we provide on-site child minding, so the children also could come to another room while their parents are attending the meeting. But if it's an evening group, then we just provide babysitting subsidy. So the children are being taken care of at home while the parent is attending the meeting.
How often are meetings held?
They're once a week for 2 hours.
And how does one get into these meetings? Just by phoning?
Yeah, just by phoning. What we do is that they call us and give their first name and phone number, and then depending on which area they're calling from Surrey or Vancouver or whichever, Burnaby, then we will call our facilitator in that area then the facilitator will call them back to give them more information about the group, just to find out if the group would be able to meet their needs.
Normally, where do you have these meetings?
In neighborhood houses, because it's a community-based support group.
So it just doesn't happen in anybody's home?
No, in neighborhood houses or in churches or community centers. We choose a place where it's neutral for everybody and which is also accessible by public transportation and which is also safe for parents to come, because if it's an evening group, so we have to make sure that they're safe in going home.
And what's the usual length of the duration of the meeting?
It's 2 hours.
2 hours?
Yeah.
What in your experience, and I know it's a pretty new program that you've implemented in the community. So far, what kind of problems have come to your doorstep? I mean, have come to your awareness that people bring to you?
Yeah, very good question. I think the big problem is the stress that they're undergoing in adjusting to the new culture. Like
who's stress? Is it the parents or the children?
The parents' stress, and children can be also dealing with stressful situations, right? But I think it's mostly the parents too, and not being able to be familiar with the system, how the system works, and plus the language barrier, and also running out of resources, and you're still not able to find a job, or otherwise you found a job, but it's not really within your line of work.
So you're not happy with your job.
That's right.
And therefore, your kids are also having their own identity problems.
That's right. So the other thing is that the intergenerational gap, or the parenting dilemma, wherein children start to learn about their rights, and then they start to be assertive.
Speaking of those rights.
They start to be assertive in expressing their rights to the parents, and then parents are still holding on to the traditional way of raising their children, disciplining their children. So there can be a big gap in that relationship already.
You were talking about rights of children. I just, all of a sudden, I just thought of just one incident where children, at an early age, they start to, I guess, hearing from their peers as well, and they start to be more conscious that I do have a
right.
No, not just right, but in terms of the government supports me. The government gives me money. Where's my money? And sometimes parents have difficulty addressing this as well, because if they need the money for the daily, subsistence, so it goes into the general operating funds.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I think it has to be I think the important thing that we really need to emphasize is that we know that children have rights, but rights are also accompanied with responsibilities. It doesn't mean that you have the right to get your money. You also have the responsibility to spend that money wisely.
And so this is what you tell your parents to tell the kids when they come around and say, hey, where's my money?
That's right. Or if
you're spending my money, that's my allowance.
Or if the child would say that I have the right to socialize with my friends and I have the right to go out, but he or she has also the responsibility to inform her parents or his parents where she's going or he's going and what time she's coming home, those things, because we have to remember that rights and responsibilities cannot really be separated.
Let me get away from what we're talking about here for a while, and I'd like to ask you a personal question. How long have you been doing this? You seem to be so well versed in, in what you're doing for the society. Is this something that you've even done back in the Philippines?
Yeah, I used to be
What sort of training did you get?
I am a social worker by profession in the Philippines, but
no wonder.
Yeah, but I didn't really work as a social worker there, but I worked as a community development worker, program development, and researcher and training.
No wonder when you said you're enjoying this type of work, I should have guessed.
Thank you.
So you need volunteers,
yes,
right?
I do.
So why don't we talk about that? What kind of volunteers are you looking for in our community?
Okay,
and what kind of programs do you want to, do you want volunteers?
Basically, we need volunteers for our self-help groups or for our parent support groups.
What are they supposed to do?
Okay, our support groups are run or facilitated by volunteers who are trained professionally by our organization. And basically, we're just looking for a person that is non-judgmental, respectful.
That's going to be difficult.
Respectful and enjoy working with parents, and also has strong communication skills and interpersonal skills, and has knowledge on child development and also family violence and child abuse issues.
Okay, granted they have all those and more qualities. What is expected of them?
Okay, good question. They have to go through an intensive screening process.
I should get 100% here. You always, all my questions are good.
Yeah, it's really good. It helps me focus into that direction. Okay, and they have to go through an intensive screening process. First is the interview, and if the interview is positive, then we can proceed to the second step, which is checking their references, and if they're being endorsed by their references to facilitate our groups, then we can proceed to the next step, which is initial training, to invite them to come to the training. The training itself is also part of the screening process.
Is that by phone? It's mostly by phone.
Yeah, to contact them. And then they have to come to the training. Initial training is 20 hours training, 2.5 days, and they are being observed by our consultant trainer to also get feedback from them if they would be suitable to facilitate our group. Once they have gone through the 3 steps, then the last step would be the criminal record check. And if they have no records, then they're invited to facilitate our group, and they are asked to commit their time for 1 year, minimum of 1 year, for an average of 5 hours a week.
As volunteers, do they get paid? Not paid, but do they get anything?
Yeah, we provide an excellent benefits. We provide ongoing professional development training 2 times a year. It's for 2.5 days per training workshop, and it's all expense paid. We provide the trainer, the accommodation, the food, transportation.
Or are they expected to travel as well?
Because we do it outside Vancouver.
What do you mean outside Vancouver? Whereabouts?
In different areas, like in Mission or in Langley.
Oh, I see.
And
okay.
we provide that accommodation and food, and we also reimburse their transportation.
And how many hours a week are they supposed to be doing this? Is that 40 hours a week?
20, you mean the volunteer is only an average of 5 hours a week.
That's not much. That's an hour a day.
Well, it depends because the meeting itself is 2 hours. And then apart from that would be contacting the members on the phone, and they can do that at their home.
But you do need them during the day. Can they volunteer part-time evenings or?
It depends. We schedule our group meetings depending on the availability of the facilitator. If they can do it in the evening, then we will schedule a meeting regularly in the evening. And that's only 2 hours a week for the group meetings.
What would you say is the most satisfying or gratifying aspect of your work?
Wow.
I'm sure you encounter many difficulties.
Oh, yeah.
And particularly, talking to people, relating to them, and trying to be non-judgmental.
That's right, yeah.
But,
I think just being able to see the parents making that choice, that we are there to provide information for them, and that would help them make an informed decisions. And then once they have made that decision, based on the information that we have provided them, and make them feel responsible for the decisions they have made, is very satisfying. And most of the decisions that they have made are really, it really helped them a lot. And sometimes there can be some challenges, but I guess that's part of the change process we're in.
That's right.
You don't expect change to happen overnight,
That's right.
But as long as there's a supportive environment where that could help them to create change in their lives.
And what's important is they're able to vent out, what problems they have relating to
That's right.
to the home. What is then the success rate of this programs that you have in terms of families coming in your self-help environment and families actually realizing that they can get a grasp of things in the home anyway and solve their own problems?
Yeah, well, it's difficult to measure success because it's not quantifiable, but if we have to measure it by getting more members to come to the group, because they're being also, I guess, referred by the members themselves, from their close friends and from other support from the community, like the non-profit organizations, the professionals, and also being able to see the relationship of the parents and the children has improved. So
well that's I think that's where I was coming from, is the success rate would be that you see parents actually coming to the meeting and talking about their problem and finding for themselves solutions to their problem. That would be, to me, that's a success, in terms of what your program has to offer. So how successful has it been so far?
It's been successful, and in fact, there's so many things like you've noticed that parents have already start rebuilding their self-esteem. They're now more confident in themselves. They're now able to advocate for themselves if they feel that they're being treated unfairly by other people or the other system.
So it's not, I'm a bit confused here. So it's not just problems in the family. Because we're also talking about parents who have problems relating to other people.
Oh yeah,
as
because
as they are perceived. What kind of roles?
There's so many ways or reasons why our parents join our group. Like they want to break isolation.
Oh, I see. Well, no, I was not aware of that. That's why all my questions have been zeroed in on child-parent relationship here. I wasn't aware that a woman or a parent can come to the meeting and talk about problems that she has that has been caused by people outside her family circle.
Yeah, because if we're dealing with a lot of stressors, right, it really affects our relationship with the children. We lack patience in dealing with that. If we lost a job, it can be very stressful for us. And then if you have children who are so demanding and getting support from you or whatever, and then you're dealing with your own issues, of course it affects your relationship. And you need somebody to talk to, maybe having a group for you to be able to vent your concerns.
Okay, so that's why the name of the society is BC Parents in Crisis.
That's right, yeah, because crisis is relative. You might have a car breakdown and you won't be able to go to your office on time. Then there's your child who spilled the milk on the carpet and you need to deal with that. And then, so those are very stressful situations. So anything that is beyond the norm that would make you imbalanced, then it's crisis situation. And crisis is a relative word.
So basically this is funded by the government?
It's funded by the government. It's funded by 7 United Way agencies because it's a provincial organization. And also we get support from other individuals. Yeah.
Do you still find the need to raise funds for yourselves?
Oh yeah, it's important, especially right now that our groups are growing. At present, we have 44 groups all over the province.
44?
Yeah.
That's a large number.
It is, yeah. And we're existing because of the support of the people from the community.
What can they do? What kind of, when you say support from the community, from people in the community, what kind of support? Apart from, meeting, getting in the meetings and, participating in the meeting, what other kind of support are you looking at?
Like the volunteers themselves. They're already members of the community and we won't be able to exist without them supporting us. Yeah. And of course, each community has also a steering committee, and the steering committee is composed of professionals from different family serving agencies. And they're there also to provide support to our facilitators who are facilitating our groups in different communities.
That's the steering committee's job. Are you a member of that steering committee?
I'm the one actually coordinating that also.
Oh, yours is a higher position.
Well, it's an egalitarian position.
Well, it seems to be, you seem to be making headway here. And did you want to make a special appeal to our viewers in your, you're looking for volunteers here, so well, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I would like to invite people from the community if you want to support the parents who really need to improve their relationship with their children, and we're inviting people to be our volunteers of our facilitator support groups, and we look for people that are non-judgmental, respectful, who enjoys working with parents and also have knowledge on child development, family violence, and child abuse issues, and has strong interpersonal skills and communication skills.
So it's not enough to say, I am willing to help out. Is there any cost to parents who come in to attend meetings?
No, it's free.
It's free. Everything's free.
Everything's
even
free.
The child care that you provide when they come with children.
We
That's
provide
great.
child minding subsidy. Yeah.
Well, I guess our time's up.
Okay, so thank you so much, Marlene.
Well, thank you, and I hope we were able to, bring out all the information that our viewers will need to make a decision whether they want to volunteer or not.
Okay, thank you.
And maybe we'll have you again on the show. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sumasama ba ang iyong loob kapag nasisigawan o napapalo mo ang iyong mga anak? Mahal mo ang iyong mga anak, subalit paminsan-minsan, ikaw ba'y nakakaramdam ng matinding pagkainis sa kanila? Nahihirapan ka ba sa pagdisiplina sa kanila? Pakiramdam mo ba'y nag-iisa ka sa mundong ito at wala kang mapaghingahan ng iyong sama ng loob? Nakapagdudulot ba ng sigalot o di pagkakaunawaan sa iyong mag-anak ang kakaibang takbo ng buhay dito sa Canada? Tandaan mo, hindi ka nag-iisa. Nakahanda kaming tumulong sa iyo. Tawagan lamang ang numerong ito, 669-1616, BC Parents in Crisis Society.
For loving moms and dads who feel they might be at risk of hurting their children physically, emotionally, or sexually. Here's Alan with the final report.
At the best of times, parenting can pose a formidable challenge for even the most well-adjusted among us. And how much more so for the parent who's experiencing some form of crisis. Using a self-help model, the non-profit BC Parents in Crisis Society has been helping troubled parents throughout the province for over 20 years.
The BC Parents in Crisis Society was formed originally when people noticed that parents were very isolated in their child rearing and would find it helpful to be able to support each other. So parenting groups were set up, which we now call parent support circles, so that parents could come together and feel supported and be able to talk about their difficulties and their frustrations and learn from each other.
I decided to see BC Parents in Crisis about 5 years ago when I found that I was responding to my children in a childish manner myself and realized that I'd never really been taught how to parent and I wasn't pleased with my parenting. And so I researched quite a few places and found this was a support group. It wasn't an actual set of classes. And I go there and talk to other parents, and I get to hear what they do and what has worked, and sometimes just to talk about how tough it can be. So they were an ear, and they also had some really wonderful things to teach me.
What changes have you made in your life as a result of being a part of BC Parents in Crisis support program?
My involvement in BC Parents in Crisis has helped make me accountable for the things I do. I come to them with some problems and they help me work them out, or I just talk. And someone asked me the following week, well, how did this go and how did it work out? So I feel accountable for my actions, not just complaining. It's like, let's see some results. No one demands it of me, but I don't like to go there with the same issue and sounding like a whiner, so it helps me be accountable for my own actions.
The primary form of support is the listening that they do, the trust that's built up, the awareness that they're not alone in their role as parents.
Denise, I understand you've been a participant of the support programs of BC Parent in Crisis for 5 years. Why are you still involved?
I'm still involved now, I think, because I have a lot to offer. I have come a really long way. If you knew me before, I like to blame the outside for all my problems, and now I take responsibility. And I have a lot to offer, and there's still a lot to learn. People have asked me about this parenting group, and I find them fearful of coming, mainly because they think you have to be really failing at something to be able to improve it. And I try to encourage them to just come anyway, find out what it's like, and our children deserve the best that we can give them. And it's not about being a bad person or a bad parent in the beginning, it's about finding out how to be all you can be.
With over 45 self-help parenting groups throughout British Columbia, the dedicated volunteers of BC Parents in Crisis Society log over 20,000 hours in helping over 900 families each year. As a parent, if you are feeling isolated, stressed out, alone, or even at risk that you may harm your child in some way, feel free to make a confidential call to the friendly folks at BC Parents in Crisis. For Metro Edition, I'm Alan Kumar.
cab.
Yeah. When you think about starting a family, a lot of us think you get married.